Hello everybody, thanks very much for joining us. Good to have your company here on Friday afternoon as we get set for the second and final free practice session of the day before we get into the thick of it with our race weekend, our final one of the 2025 season, qualifying at a race on Saturday, qualifying at a race on Sunday. Just a small matter of the DTM Championship crown to be decided. 9 drivers going for it, and we got slightly warmer conditions than we had for that first free practice session this morning, where to begin with it was in the single figures, the temperature, but it's up to 14 degrees now. It is looking like it's going to be a dry free practice. There's talk of an 80% chance of rain on Saturday now. I was hearing from Emil Fry Racing for the first race of the weekend, so we'll see what happens, but dry for now. You've just seen Lucas Auer, the championship leader, looking as ever cool, calm and collected, and that's his advantage in the championship. It's been narrower than that at times this year. 7-point lead though is not exactly massive. Jordan Pepper, his closest rival. René Rast looking for his 4th championship, only 11 points adrift. Maro Engel, like Lucas Auer, looking for his first title as well. So too Engel Nguyen, so too Jack Aitken. What can they do from 4th, 5th and 6th respectively? And then Marco Wittmann looking for a 3rd title. Thomas Preining looking for a 2nd, and Jules Gounon looking for a 1st title in his first season. Like this man, Jordan Pepper, are all of your 9 championship contenders. 29 points between the lot of them. We have had this many people going for a title fight coming into the final weekend previously, but never as tightly compacted as this. Not a good start to the weekend though for this man, Jordan Pepper. This was what happened in the first free practice session. Understeering off the road through the gravel and then slamming into the tyre barriers in his TGI Grasser Lamborghini. Got quite a hit as well, and it was because of a sticking throttle, which he tried to undo by putting his foot underneath the throttle on that lap, as reported on the team radio. He couldn't do it, so the car unable to slow down, he just went off into the gravel trap, and that was at turn 12, just about 7 laps into the free practice session. He was on a good lap at the time, but good to see that he's in the car looking ready to go, because I went down to Grasser around about an hour ago and the car was still in bits. The team was still working on it. We thought because he'd gone sideways into the barrier and knocked a bit of speed off that maybe there wasn't too much damage to the car, but Christine Grasser from the team telling me that actually there was quite a bit of damage underneath, but she was always confident they were going to get the car back out. Jordan took a bit of a bruising to the shoulder as well. He's been in the wars a bit lately because he cut his hand open trying to open a glass bottle a week or so ago. So he's making life hard for himself, but I'm sure Jordan will be fine now, and hopefully that's his bad luck done for the weekend. On boards with all of the championship contenders. You've seen René Rast, you've seen Jordan Pepper, you've seen Lucas Auer, Engel Nguyen, that man Jack Aitken, 6th in the championship off the back of a race victory in the IMSA championship over in America, and that was off the back of a really tough weekend that he endured at the Red Bull Ring last time we were in action for the DTM, where the only point he picked up across the whole weekend was from his qualifying performance, which got him in the top 3. But from the races, unfortunately, one due to a crash, one due to a puncture, he didn't pick up any championship points, but he's still in the fight, still there in 6th place. So that's the scene set. We've got a minute to go before this last chance now for everybody to get set for what's going to be a huge day tomorrow, this first day of action coming up with qualifying tomorrow morning at 9:30 and the race at 1:30. And this a slightly shorter session as is tradition, so this will be, rather than the 55 minutes we had this morning, a 45-minute practice session. We're lucky enough to be here, part of this here at Hockenheim, already feeling the sense of anticipation in the air. Our commentary box overlooks the exit to the final corner on this 4.5 kilometre long world famous Hockenheim circuit, and we've got a grandstand view of the pits as well, where all the cars are nosing out of the garages now and about to go into action. My name's Chris Hartley, and alongside me as always, good afternoon to Brian Oliver.
Good afternoon, Chris. Good afternoon, everybody. We've had 15 free practice sessions this year. This is the 16th and possibly the most important. 9 drivers in the hunt. This is the last opportunity to get the setup right, to get the tyres scrubbed in, to get everything in line before Quali 1 tomorrow morning. And all the teams are going to be razor sharp focused. The 9 drivers that are still in the championship hunt front will know that all the hard work needs to be done now so that they can hit the ground running tomorrow morning. This is not 45 minutes of just pootling around in the Friday afternoon sunshine. This is 45 critical minutes in the final round of the season.
Yeah, and they want it to be an uninterrupted session as well, particularly those that didn't have the chance to come and test here last week on either of the available test days. You have a limit of 5 test days per driver that you can take part in, so not everybody was doing it. Not everybody was doing it on the right tyre either. It was wet for most of the Monday and Thursday sessions, all of Monday and most of Thursday. And some of the teams even were forced to run around on different tyres because they'd run out of their tyre allocation of tyres, so I'm running around on the Hankook tyres. But we'll see if that practice in the wet would end up coming in handy if we do get some rain across the course of the race weekend. For others that missed it, they want to get up to speed as quickly as possible, get as much time in the car as possible, particularly those that are in their first full season of racing DTM, might know the circuit from racing in other series, but want the time in the car at the circuit, like Jordan Pepper, who didn't get really any time in the car earlier on, like Fabio Scherer, who had a problem with the front left suspension on his Ford Mustang. He only managed 3 laps in the session before the car rattled him to a halt. Spoke to Fabio after the first free practice session. He confirmed that that was why he went off the road in the first place when we saw him drifting onto the grass at the Parabolica. And I said, have you got it fixed? He said, I think so, I hope so, but I'm not sure. So hopefully, I'm sure they will at HRT get that Ford Mustang back out. But he's a driver that's buoyed with the way that Mustang has improved this year. And he said, we had some bad luck with the car at a couple of rounds at the Nürburgring, at Red Bull Ring, when we're in good positions. I'm sure we could have challenged for a podium, he said, certainly at the Red Bull Ring. So the pace is there, but we just need to get the car working throughout the whole race. But Fabio, absolutely loving life with the team. He said he's never felt so comfortable with a team as he does with Haupt Racing. So great effort by Hubert Haupt's team and Uli Fritz, who runs the team, to get those Mustangs firing up as they have. That said, they didn't have a good first free practice session. Arjun Maini didn't do too many laps either, so they want to get on with this as well. And getting on with it, as always, as he's done all season long, this man, Lucas Auer, the championship leader, had a good first free practice session. Thomas Preining was quickest, but Lugi was second, and there was only 57 thousandths of a second between them this morning. Arjun Nguyen also looked good, 62 thousandths of a second away from Tommy Preining's best time of free practice 1, and he was 3rd quickest. Ricardo Fella, strong again, the Red Bull Ring race winner in the Land Motorsport Audi, he was 4th. Mirko Bortolotti put several good laps in and was 5th quickest in the Abt Lamborghini. Maurice Skuring was 6th, Thierry Vermeulen was 7th, Thibaut Glock was 8th, although there was a lot of work going on, a lot of studying of the car in the garage, I noticed when I went down to Dur after free practice 1, and even as recently as about 45 minutes ago, quite a bit of head scratching. So I think they were having an issue with that car or trying to get something more out of it. But Timo, pretty good effort for him. In 8th place, Jack Aitken was 9th and Maro Engel was 10th in that first free practice session. The best time was a 1:37.4, which is about a second away from the qualifying lap record.
Yeah, with the track temperature a good 5 degrees higher than it was during free practice 1 this morning, we'd expect to see that 1:37.413 eclipsed, and the pace will be picking up certainly as this session goes on and more rubber is laid down. Just looping back to HRT and the incredible progress they've made with the Mustang this year. Of course, they've got 3 cars running in the GT Masters this weekend as well, which is really useful because there's data that they're able to take from the 3 teams that are running, 6 drivers that are running in GT Masters, they're able to draw across into DTM. That's the advantage when teams are doing a dual program with DTM and GT Masters that are on the same bill in identical cars on the same circuit.
Yeah, certainly is. It's a bigger workload, of course, for the team across the course of the weekend. They have their own separate crews. But Haupt in a really strong position to try and win the GT Masters Championship, which would be mega, wouldn't it, with a Mustang in its first season. And when you go around the paddock, Brian, there's always a lot of Ford fans. Ford returned to the championship the first time since 1994, and yeah, very popular. They've got this big connection with German Airways now, and they're all up in the DTM branded, Fabio Scherer branded aeroplane, DTM1 as it's been nicknamed earlier this week. So some very cool things going on at Ford, and it's been great to have them on the grid. The most different brands that we've had on a DTM grid. since the 1980s, which is fantastic. But Engine Nguyen, early doors, goes quickest. It's only a 1:38.075, which is about 6/10 off what we saw in free practice 1. A reminder on tyres, so for the race days, Saturday and Sunday, here at this circuit, they get 4 sets of slick tyres, new slick tyres from Pirelli, which have to last those 2 qualifying sessions and 2 races. During the free practice session, you get 2 sets of used tyres and only 1 set of new slick tyres, which you can bolt on at any point. Oh dear. That is, talk about bad luck. Fabio Scherer stopped again out on circuit in the Mustang. He's had lots of luck this year. It's all been bad, I'm afraid.
I have 1.5. What should I do? You try to pull a cycle, please.
That has a certain sense of deja vu from this morning, really. Trying to potentially amble home. I just saw that on the exit of the hairpin, turn 6. We're going to end up with a full course yellow if he can't get that moving, because that's in a really vulnerable position on the exit of the hairpin. So I wonder what the problem is there. Is it a repeat of what he had this morning?
Yeah, it's a real worry. So it could potentially go into tomorrow with almost no track time unless they can get him back, get it sorted and get him back out there. But good to see Jordan Pepper out there at least, having had his dramas. Hopefully they've got to the bottom of the issue while the throttle stuck open in the first place. They've certainly worked hard to fix the left side of that car. That's the corner where he lost it through that gravel trap and into that tyre stack. We had a few drivers going off here at Saxe-Curver as well. Including on his what would I think have been his absolute best lap of the session, Thomas Preining, with a couple of minutes to go. He's on course to go even quicker than he had before, but just pushed it a bit too deep into the Saxe-Curver. But Jordan Pepper certainly tracking on. The South African goes through, goes 3rd quickest for now with a 1:38.205.
They've cut a load of those marks out of the side very nicely, haven't they? Just sort of go quite deep into the final 2 corners. That's always very tricky. It's 16 and 17. Just in the runoff area, it's a drag strip that for much of the year round it's used as a drag strip, and you'd think they would have a lot of grip on it. Well, quite the opposite. Even just walking on it, it feels like ice. If the cars go wide on turn 16 and 17. Oh, and we got a car into the barrier. That's
Magnus.
Magnus. So he's gone in, and that looks like quite a big impact. That's at turn 13.
Saxe-Curver again. It's been catching them all out today, hasn't it? We saw a few go off. There was reports that even more went through the gravel trap in that first free practice session, and that is deep into the gravel there. So on the way into that, it was basically a big sweeping hairpin at turn 13, the Saxe-Curver. Full course yellow is going to be operated in 10 seconds time, and I'm sure there'll be some damage to that front right side of Magnus's Aston Martin.
Are you stuck? I confirm. Okay, they should go to 1.2.
It's quite a bit camber on that corner when you actually walk or run around it, more than you'd see, but it's certainly caught a lot of people out. As you say, it caught Thomas Preining out this morning. Quite a tricky corner to get right, I think. We're having another look here, and he certainly was wide off the mark, even just coming into the corner, and was actually has a fairly light impact. It looked initially like it was a sizable impact, but actually that's just a fairly light glancing blow. So if they can get it back to the pits and get all the gravel out of it, he may well be able to get back out before this session's over. Yeah, just understeered off again, didn't it? Understeer being you turn one way, left for a corner or right for a corner, and the front end doesn't really react, just keeps pushing straight on. And maybe it's the cooler temperatures you mentioned, Bryce. It's basically the coolest weekend that we've had so far this season. It's not absolutely freezing now, for sure. It was about 9 degrees in free practice 1 to begin with. It's 15 now. The track temperature's okay as well at 16, but it certainly seems that the grip levels at that corner, drivers are struggling with in particular. So hopefully, Gilles Magnus's Aston Martin, the Come To You Racing Aston Martin, won't be too badly damaged. I noticed when I was wandering around the garages between the 2 free practice sessions, both Gilles and his teammate Nicola Bart were really poring over the data, kind of deep into that break in between the 2 free practice sessions. So they weren't particularly, happy with how it got in free practice 1. Nicola was back in 22nd, Gilles was 16th, but Gilles has been making, in particular, really good progress this year. And as a team, Come To You Racing, their first season, remember, of DTM. We've only had 2 years now running GTs before this, only 1 season before this running Aston Martins. And they've done a great job, particularly, as I mentioned a few times, with the performance pit stops, where they are in amongst the real
experienced teams now in terms of their average pit stop times have been very good indeed. They've come a long way very quickly, and Gilles is pretty regularly, in particular now, challenging for points finishes. He's moved himself up to 3rd place in the rookie standings. There was a Gold Cup class winner in GT World Challenge last year. Former, like the team, came from TCR Racing, front-wheel drive touring car racing previously, racing Audis, and doing a good job, the Belgian driver. But his cause has not been helped by that. He's also not helped the cause of everybody else, because they're going to lose a lot of time down to this yellow.
So they informed us that they will place back the car for us to be able to continue, try to shake off some gravel out of the racing line and think there is full course yellow, so don't go over 80 kph. Front splitter doesn't have anything.
Can I just say, Fabio Scherer has just driven past our commentary box on the pit straight, so it was certainly not a recurrence of what happened this morning, because he's still circulating.
Didn't dive into the pits. Gilles Magnus has been told, right, drive carefully back to the pits. Try and shake off as much gravel as you want, because that's less for us to deal with. We can get back to the pits, basically. But the car looks okay, doesn't it?
Yeah, but it was a very light. I mean, initially, when you saw the dust rising up in the air and you saw the fence moving, you thought, oh, it's been a big one. But actually, it was a fairly light touch. I imagine the team will just say, drag the gravel out of it, give it a check over, and probably get him back out as quickly as possible. Leaving the gravel out for everybody else. A little present for the cars behind.
Fantastic looking car though, the Aston Martin. So through it comes into the pit lane. We go green again, so yeah, full course yellow, meaning that we don't have to stop the session, which is good news. You do lose, of course, time, but not as much time as if we all had to come into the pits and then all had to go back out again. Fabio Scherer, you're right, carried on, didn't come into the pits, so whatever the issue was, looks like they've done perhaps a factory reboot, a reset, got him going again, and he'll be back out there. So we've still got a few in the pit lane. Auer and Pepper, who is 2nd and 3rd in the session at the moment. Magnus, obviously. Jules Grenold's in. Jack Aitken, I think, was just heading back out, or back in, I'm not sure. Someone going down the pit lane. And then Nicky Tim and Luca Engstler in. Otherwise, all out there, including the 2 BMWs, who are both trying to win the championship. In Marco Wittmann's case for a 3rd time, in René Rast's case for a 4th time, but neither of them was particularly quick in free practice one, were they? René was 19th, Marco was 21st, which is a bit of a worry. Yeah,
I mean, we don't know how hard they were pushing, whether they were saving themselves, in inverted commas. So this is the session where it will probably be a little bit clearer, but as you say, at the moment, neither of them have put in a competitive time. And with free practice, with full course yellow kicking into this free practice too, then that kind of interrupts the program a bit as well. But anyway, the full course yellow has now cleared, and we're green again, so we're back up to speed. So Ayhan Chenguen now to get back into the groove. You mentioned earlier that you saw the drivers poring over the data, and between FP1 and FP2, that's, you know, we walk around trying to talk to the drivers. They're nowhere to be seen because they've all been analysing what was happening this morning, and the teams are working on it, drivers are working on it. So now, Ayhan Chenguen pushing hard into the pit lane, a rehearsal for his pit stops tomorrow and Sunday. They will be looking at data and now trying to put it into practice in the final free practice session.
Jan coming into the pit lane and going, oh, it feels a bit slippery here. It's as if some Aston Martin's done to let it gravel down on the pit lane entrance. And he almost went off the road, but Jan coming in, the most winning driver this year with 4 race victories this season for the Turkish driver. Absolutely in the fight. Might not have won a DTM championship, but he's won titles in Porsche Carrera Cup in France twice. Been a front runner in Porsche Super Cup previously as well. Practice pit stop for the team, because that's going to be absolutely critical with what should be 3 pit stops across the course of the weekend. 1 in Saturday's race, 2 mandatory stops in Sunday's race. Very evenly spread though, this circuit, which is great because it keeps it wide open. Some parts of the circuit favour some cars, so the Ferrari, Ben Green was saying to us yesterday, should be strong at the start and the end of the lap, not so much in the middle of the lap where pure power is required through on the run through turn 3, 4 and 5 Parabolica in particular. Then BMWs will be strong there, for example, the Astons maybe, the Fords, but not so much in the twistier sections at the end of the lap. So, and that's reflected in the brands that have won here as well. Altogether, we've had 62 DTM races at this circuit, 23 different race winners, and Mercedes have won 25 times and Audi have won 24. They're the most successful. But the GT3 era since 2021 is probably the most relevant stat. And since we've been coming here in the GT3 era of DTM, wins by brand, Mercedes 2, Audi 2, Porsche 2, Lamborghini 1, BMW 1, so that's fairly evenly split. Podiums, BMW have had 6, Audi have had 4, Mercedes have had 4, Porsche have had 4, Lamborghini have had 4, and Ferrari have had 2. So it should be wide open this weekend.
I think if you want a car that's strong in any particular sector, you want it in Sector 2, because that's twice as long as Sector 1. But Thomas Pryning, quickest of anybody in that Sector 2. His teammate Anchan Good's been reported to the stewards for an unsafe pit stop, and I noticed that one of the mechanics darting across the pit lane, I think a wheel nut might have gone south, and he had to go and retrieve it. So that's been reported to the stewards. Very, very heavily regulated in the pit lane. Of course, health and safety is a priority. We can't have wheels, wheel nuts, or indeed people bouncing around all over the place, as Ricardo Fella now lays down a marker in Sector 1. So he's gone the quickest of anybody in Sector 1 at the moment. He's down in 17th place at 1:39.399. So if he can keep this going for the remainder of this lap, this is going to be a big improvement on that 17th place.
Got that Audi dialed in, haven't they, of late? I mean, it had certain flashes of pace all the way through the season, really. We know Ricardo's a great driver, fighting for the title 2 years ago, came into this season finale with a chance of becoming DTM champion. We know Landa are a very experienced team, but together they haven't worked in the DTM environment. The team, they've had a few moments here and there as Ricardo pushes hard coming out of turn 12 into the Sachs curve. Pushes too hard, does exactly what half the other drivers have done and understeers into the gravel trap, but keeps it out of the barriers, keep it going. It's so thick, so deep, the gravel there, and he does a good job and gets out. But obviously the lap ruin, it was looking good, wasn't it? 2 purple sectors, 2 absolute best sectors. I hope that is not his new set of tyres. He's one new set of tyres he can use in free practice, because they're going to be a bit second-hand now. But he opts to stay out, interestingly. Goes through and tries to shake off some of that gravel.
Yeah. Thanks, says Thomas. I won't be appreciating that. When he retires from DTM, should definitely consider a career in rallycross, because he mastered that one very well indeed. The question we were asking in FP1 as we look again, is this going to be the last time we see Audi in DTM, certainly for the near future? But Ricardo Fella saying there's life in the old dog yet, but not so hot at getting around the Sachs curve at the moment. Maybe the cooler temperatures catching him out, but doesn't look like there's been any harm. He hasn't peeled off into the pit, so he'll deposit gravel around the whole of Sector 1 and carry on his way, I should think.
While that was happening, that team radio first from Ricardo.
Copy. Yeah, you had purple Sector 1 and 2.
Scant consolation. You were quickest.
Not so much in Sector 3.
You might have been quickest.
While all that was happening, Tommy Pryning set the absolute best time of the session for the second consecutive lap. René Rast has just gone through to go second quickest as well. So 1:37.559 for Thomas Pryning, looking to top both free practice sessions. Now, Tommy went off the road in similar circumstances at the same corner to what we've just seen from Ricardo Fella. That was at the end of free practice 1 on a lap which looked even better than his first. And we heard him on the team radio saying, still work to be done here, guys. So even he was trying to squeeze more time out of the Porsche. But the Porsches, we had 3 of them in the top 6 earlier, having a very good start to the weekend. Marco Wittmann now goes second.
And René Rast up there as well.
Yeah, he was second previously. Wittmann has just pushed him down to 3rd place.
Wow.
So don't worry, might have been 19th and 21st in free practice 1. It's all good now if you're a Schubert fan, because they are 2nd and 3rd. 1:37.693 for Marco from the previous lap. René Rast at 1:37.816. A quarter of a second between the top 3. Tom Callender, who got an 11th place finish at Red Bull Ring. Not his first points finish, but his best finish of the year so far. And the ADAC GT Masters champion of 2024, youngest ever driver to compete in the DTM. He is 4th at the moment in the Landgraf Mercedes. Could be helpful, that, for team leader and championship leader Lucas Auer, if he's got another teammate, another Mercedes up there to try and take points away from other cars. So Tom with a well-timed run of form here, 1:37.9. He goes 4th quickest. Mirko Bortolotti is into the pits, but he's 5th quickest at the moment with a 1:37.983. Thierry Vermeulen, who is looking for his first win. He's been knocking on the door, got 2 podium finishes and a pole at the Red Bull Ring last time out. He's the leading Ferrari, currently in 6th place, the young Dutch Dutch driver. Arjen Guwen in the pits 7th, Lucas Out in the pits 8th, and then Timo Glock in the top 10 again, and Maurice Skuring also in the top 10, with Jordan Pepper just outside. You've only got 7/10 of a second covering the top 13, less than a second covers the top 15, and what's a relatively long lap here at Hockenheim.
Yeah, although interestingly, 20 minutes into the session, and we still haven't reached the times from FP1 this morning when the track would arguably have been slower. Now, admittedly, there's probably quite a lot of gravel on it at the moment, but yeah, the time this morning, 1:37.413, so we're still about getting on for a 10th and a half off the quickest time this morning set by Thomas Preining, so that's a wide line. I was mentioning earlier on about that slippery exit out of turn 16 and 17. Of course, you go out there, then you are an absolute passenger because it is like ice. This corner here, turn 1, has been the scene of many, many track limit warnings. And it's not just in DTM, in GT Masters, GT4, Porsche 6 Carrera Cup Germany today. And once again, there is a list of track limit warnings for turn 1 that is as long as your arm, cannot keep up with it. As Jordan Pepper peels off into the pits. But track limits, turn 1, they're going to have to get that one under control before quali tomorrow, because we're going to start seeing laps taken away if they're doing that in a qualifying session.
Jordan in, but it was a good lap up until that point. A personal best in sector 1 and sector 2. He's about 0.3 of a second down through the first sector. Through the second sector, he was only 83 thousandths of a second away from the best middle sector time. So potential there for Jordan. For now, Fabio Scherer has improved that middle sector time with a 45.510.
Yeah, he's just peeled off into the pit lane as well. Gall us our hopes up. We're going to see a big jump up the timesheets, and he's peeled off into the pits. In fact, it's fairly quiet, and that is Marco Wittmann. So he's out on turn. That is on that slippery that I said, turn 16 and 17. I hope I wasn't the prophet of doom there, but he's regathered it up. But the car looked like it might have gone wide onto that slippery drag strip and swapped ends. Maybe we'll find out in a bit.
Yeah, so he gets going again. No harm done anywhere near the barriers, I don't think. But Marco Wittmann, who's second quickest at the moment with a moment. And that was at turn 17.
Yeah,
and exactly what you said. As soon as he put wheels over that curve, it's so slippy on that drag strip, car immediately snapped away from him.
I shan't mention it again, I'm so sorry. Well, it's a good example.
Yeah, back end just goes, doesn't it?
I tell you what, if you were just walking on it and you're like, how can a surface be this slippery? It is like ice. You get a wheel too far over onto it and you are just a passenger, and this is what it's going to look like from his perspective as he gets onto the power. Is this before or after? Maybe after.
Back live now, yeah. Yes. Carried on. Yeah, what it is good for is donuts at the end of Sunday, usually. That's
yeah,
Tim
we saw it. If you have the read, let me know, and then we will box.
Yes, happy to box.
Copy that. Box, please.
Okay, so he's going to come into the pits after this lap. Yeah, as soon as he got on that 550 brake horsepower, it just snapped away from him at the back end. Zero grit there. What's it going to be like if it rains as well on that? So we've seen that in the past. Very slippy. He didn't go that wide, did he? But it just snapped away from him straight away. But no harm done. So Marco Wittmann second. Tommy Preining. Now remember, they only get one set of new tyres. We never know, unless you find out afterwards, whether they opted to use their new slicks in the first free practice session or the second free practice session. But I think that bodes well for Thomas Preining, because he's been quickest in both sessions, and in one of those sessions it won't have been on brand new tyres. And he's only in this session about a 10th slower, isn't he, than he went in free practice 1. So looking good for Preining. Wittmann comes into the technical check area, second quickest. Timo Glock third. Whatever head scratching went on worked. I mean, it was pretty good this morning, but Timo looking very good now in third place. Had a torrid season, but he's certainly helped to elevate that team, Dur Motorsport, in every sense of the word, in their second year of DTM. The experience that he has brought has really benefited the team as a whole. Even if Timo, who's just coming into the pits there from Marco Wittmann's onboard camera, even if he hasn't had the best set of results, the team has made massive leaps forward to get another replay from our grandstand camera and the screech of tyres as it snapped around.
Yes, some nice flat spots on those tyres as well. Right, this is a replay. Is this the replay where we're going to see him have a bit of a Code Brown moment? There we go, onto the opposite lock. Oh, carbon collector, just put it in gear. Carry on, pretend nothing happened. You're mentioning Thomas Preining looking really quick. Of course, it was at this event 2 years ago that he did that very, very rare feat of winning back-to-back races in the DTM on the same weekend. So clearly he likes this place. Manthey EMA like this place, and everybody everybody else is looking over their shoulder at the moment.
And then the next time that happened was his teammate, wasn't it, this year? Hockenheim with a double victory at Sachsenring to push himself, throw himself into the championship fight. And Thomas Preining heading back out onto the track now. I've got about half of them in the pits, half of them out on track. Arjun Maini has started to put some laps in now. It was a bit of a late start to the session for him, and he's had issues with his car as well from that first free practice session. So the Indian driver, 138.642. Speaking to Arjun yesterday, weren't we? He's had a lovely old time. He's a big rock music fan, and he said, "Oh, I was in London last week." It's like, "Oh, what were you there for?" Oasis concert. I used to get tickets for the Oasis. He said it cost him a fortune, but it was great.
Well, yeah, he likes his music, and we're looking forward to the end of season party on Sunday night. When I said to him, "Are you going to unveil the white suit?" and he says, "Maybe, maybe not." Busts some moves with the sunglasses on, but that's all to come. He's just peeled off into the pit lane. But the Mustangs, with Fabio Scherer, I keep seeing little purples flashing up every once in a while. So the Mustangs looking pretty dialed in at the moment, maybe not showing their hand quite yet. That's Thomas Preining just finding a bit of space, at least I hope he is, and now he's back onto the power. So he's not done yet, he's still trying to find those quick laps.
Quick in the middle sector, isn't it, that Mustang? As you'd expect, that's where it's the quickest part, the power part of the circuit. They, through turn one, they go through that, the Nord curve at 180 kilometres an hour. They're already at 240 kilometres an hour before they get to turn two. They slow down to just 80 into that tight right-hander at turn two. It's the first real proper heavy braking zone on the lap, and to just 80 kilometres an hour. But then they really open it up through turn 3 and 4, which flicks you out onto what is a big arcing sweeping left-hander, the parabolica, phenomenal through there, flat out 265 kilometres an hour they'll reach through there. It's about 160 miles an hour, flat out in 6th gear, down on the brakes from the fastest part to the slowest part of the circuit, the Spitzkehrer, the hairpin, just 55 kilometres an hour and 2nd gear there. But then gets quick again after that through turn 7 at 215 kilometres an hour, 235 on the exit. So sector 2, some really quick sections. Ricardo Fella, who's lost a few laps to track limits, keeps that one, and that elevates him from the bottom of the times up to 4th place in the Land Audi. He's in the 137s now as well. So 137.5 for Preining, 137.693 for Wittmann in 2nd, and then 137.7s for Glock in 3rd, Fella in 4th, 137.8s for Rast in 5th, for Molen in 8th, in 6th. Calendar in 7th place with the 137.9. Likewise, Bortolotti, who's 8th now with the 137.9. And then Guen, who's in the pits, 138.0 in 9th. Lucas Auer, 138.1, currently running in 10th place.
It's all a bit quiet out on the track at the moment. The pits are certainly quite busy, but I think that we are now getting into the realm of qualifying simulation. So, I mean, normally in quali, with about 12 minutes to go, it starts to get quite busy. And it may well be that with 12 minutes to go of this session, we're going to start seeing cars coming back out. But at the moment, just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cars out on track. Fabio Scherer, Ricardo Fella, René Rast, also Lucas Auer and Nicola Bartz. They're all running out on track at the moment. Everybody else in the pits with 16 1/4 minutes to go. And there is Ricardo Fella, still chunking around in the Audi in that 4th place, 137.766. Oh,
don't do that. Don't go over there.
Tight. Yeah. Oh, don't want to go there, mate.
And he's very wide coming out of turn 17 as well. He pulls the pin. René Rast is behind him, and Ricardo Fella, even though he didn't go personal or absolute best in the first 2 sectors, very quick for that final sector, and 2nd quickest now for the Swiss driver, 137.662. Only Tommy Preining that's quicker. Actually, of the top 10, you've only got Fella, Rast and Auer that are on track at the moment. There's only 5 of them on the track. Bart and Aitken are out there as well. But it's very quiet on track with 15 minutes to go. I sense that, as you hinted at, is going to change pretty rapidly. They'll all want to be out there at the end of the session for sure. Of the championship contenders, in terms of their records here at this circuit, the one with the most wins here, you won't be massively surprised to find out, is René Rast. He's had 5 wins at this circuit. with 2 victories in 2018, 2 victories in 2019, and a victory in 2020. But all of his wins coming in the Class 1 era of DTM rather than in the GT3 era. In terms of the GT3 era, he's had a couple of thirds, one in 2023, one last year. Marco Wittmann's had 4 wins here, 2014, 2017, 2019 and 2022. So he's had 3 wins in Class 1 and 1 in GT3. Got his maiden win here, actually, Marco Wittmann, back in 2014, 11 years ago. Lucas Auer's had 3 wins here, one in 2015, and one in 2021 and one in 2022. So he's had 2 GT3 era wins here. He was on the podium last year as well, with a very close second place right behind Kelvin van der Linde. So he's also been a winner. Other winners here, Luca Engsler in the last race of last season. He got a race win here in 2024. And Thomas Preining, 2 wins, both in, as you said, that 2023 season where he dominated the weekend to take both pole positions, both race wins, and the championship title. So those are the different drivers involved in the title fight that have been race winners here in the past. Preining at the moment looking to top both of the free practice sessions. It's about a 10th up on Ricardo Fella, whose last lap was pretty good as well, you know, 1:37.7, which in itself would have been good enough for a top 5 time. So a slightly longer run here from Ricardo, pushing on nicely. And Land Motorsport, who got this really impressive record in German racing, particularly the VLN series. They've got a great record, haven't they, at the Nordschleife. They have won the 24-hour race. They've been on the podium of the Daytona 24 hours, but it's great to see them switching to the DTM. And what a romantic story it was to get that victory in a car which was consigned to essentially be a museum piece, with Ricardo Fella's dad taking ownership of the car with which he won the 2021 GT Masters Championship, and having it on display in his showroom, his car dealership showroom in Switzerland, before it was brought out of retirement and back on track from the second round of this year's championship.
Yeah, and I love the fact that we've got 2 team owners as well, Wolfgang Land and Olaf Manthey. Oh, it's a wide line again, I jump every time. The 2 team owners who have raced against each other in Porsche Sitzcarrera Cup Germany in the past, and now they're racing against each other as team leaders as well. It's a great story, and it's the heritage of German motorsport and of the DTM, and that's what I love about it. It's not just the here and now, the heritage and the history of this wonderful series. So many stories, so many twists and turns, and of course there will be a new chapter that will come to a conclusion, or the latest chapter will come to a conclusion on Sunday night, when we find out whether that man there can stay at the top of the point standings. We will see, I have no doubt, the new champion, and it will be a new name on the trophy, because Mirko Bortolotti not in the hunt anymore. It will be donuts in front of the South Bend stand on Sunday night to celebrate, and a lot of racing to come. Really exciting stuff here at Hockenheimring, as now the track starts to get a little bit busy. I can see cars coming out into the pit lane. Just under 12 minutes remaining of this session. This is the qualifying simulation. I think we're going to see the 1:37.559 potentially beaten here. Jack Aiken has been out for 8 laps, still running in 24th at the moment, some 1.6 off the pace, but I don't think there's any need to panic. I think he's very much in control of what's happening.
So it's good from Luke. He's down at the Spitzkehrer at the moment, the slowest part of the course, from 265 down to just 55 kilometres an hour. Out of there, up to 4th gear now, 215 kilometres an hour through that right-hander at turn 7, and then short straight, and then this almost 90-degree left, which is just 80 kilometres an hour, 150 down to 145 through the right flick. Then this short link straight, the end of sector 2. He's on personal best sector 1. It's a pretty good sector 2, even though it's not a personal best. Into the right at turn 12, the Mobile 1 curver. And this, the next corner that's been catching them all out, turn 13, the Sachs curver in front of the grandstand. Beautifully done by the championship leader in the Landgraf Mercedes, having switched from several seasons racing for Winwood. And finding his home with Landgraf now, pushing on but not looking too ragged out through turn 16 and 17. He was up to 7th with his most recent lap. Auer goes through now, crosses the line, still 7th, 3/10 down on his previous best, but the best lap of the session, but that's a good lap nonetheless. So 1:37.869 which was actually only 13 thousandths of a second slower than the lap he did before that. So great consistency from the Austrian at the circuit where he made his DTM debut.
I think consistency is how we would describe his season as a whole in 2025. Right, 10 minutes remaining of free practice 2025. 10 minutes to get it all together, to get the setup right. So Lucas Auer's out there. Everybody on the move, with the exception of Ricardo Fella, who's just come into the pits. So we've got 23 cars out on track at the moment. Everybody now pushing for that setup. Gil Magnus, the other of the Aston Martins, out on track. So clearly no issues from that moment that he had. So everybody out now for the final 10 minutes, make that 9.5 of this free practice session.
Yeah, the driver that's done the least amount of running is Hockenheim. He's only done 6 laps in the session so far. Most of them have done between 10 and 13, 14 laps. Look at Luki working away at the wheel there as he makes his way through the Mobile 1 curve. On the brakes now, you go down to just 90 kilometres an hour, down from 205 kilometres an hour to just 90, down to second gear into the Sachs curve. This nice flowing segment then on the way into the final turn. Get on the gas, stay on the gas, point the nose, pull the trigger, go up through the gears. Watching him wrestling around. Fantastic views from Lucas Auer, in complete control. And he's up to 5th place now with that lap. The average speed of that lap was 206 kilometres an hour. Pretty rapid, isn't it? And he's a quarter of a second down on the fastest time of Thomas Preining, his Austrian compatriot. Here's Jack Aitken, who set a personal best through the first sector, but overall that lap wasn't mega quick at all. 1 minute 40.297. But let's see what Jack can do this time around in the Emil Frey Racing Ferrari. Apparently the team, Brian, has got, was it 300 guests coming this weekend?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, just in case we needed a bit more pressure. So Thierry Vermeulen currently in 7th, Ben Green in 14th, and Jack in 24th. So he's done a personal best in Sector 1, where they feel that the Ferrari is at its strongest. Now into the notorious hairpin, the Spitzkurve, and through the 180 goes Jack Aitken. So this is the longest sector, Sector 2. So can he continue that? Mirko Bortolotti, also personal best in Sector 1.
And an absolute best for Ben Durr in the middle sector in the McLaren. 45.338. A slightly off-colour weekend, isn't they, at Red Bull Ring? The McLaren, we've become accustomed to Ben Durr fighting near the front because a pole sitter did get a 2nd place finish at the Sachsenring, which was subsequently taken away from him. But he goes quickest here.
Wow.
How about that? 1 minute 37.502 for Ben Durr. So the McLaren, which remember right at the end of free practice one, stopped at the end of the pit lane. Looked like he had a slight issue. No problem now as Ben goes quickest by 57 thousandths of a second. Jack Aitken and Mirko Bortolotti both looking to improve their lap times. And Mirko goes to the top of the times. Fantastic. 1 minute 37.445. Jack Aitken does improve, but it's only to 21st place. But Borto looking good, isn't he? Really good.
Yeah, so maybe this is the shot in the arm that he needs after what has been a fairly torrid year in the defence of his title. Lucas Auer has now peeled off into the pit, so it's looked like he's done for the time being. We've got all cars, with the exception of Ricardo Fella and Lucas Auer, out on track at the moment. Mirko Bortolotti getting closer to that quickest time this morning. It was a 1:37.413 this morning. 1:37.445 is the quickest time for Mirko Bortolotti. Thomas Preining continue to improve. Personal best in Sector 1 and Sector 2. You can see the back end just struggling to stay gripped around at turn 13. So into the final couple of corners he'll come, onto that slippery bit, keeps it all together. Ben Durr improving even further, best of anybody in Sector 2. Out across the line will come Thomas Preining. So is this going to be an improvement on his P3? He stops the clock, 1:37.615. So it's not an improvement, but Ben Durr, a personal best in Sector 1, quickest of anybody in Sector 2. Is he going to re-jump to the top of the pack? Yes, he is. He unseats Mirko Bortolotti, and finally, we're quicker than the times this morning.
Yeah, still the best part of a second away from the qualifying lap record. Timo Glock has just gone to the top of the times. It's a McLaren 1-2. What is this, Formula 1? 1 minute 37.360 for Timo, 1 minute 37.375 for Ben Durr. Wow. Now, I've been teasing Brian this all weekend. I've said everybody focuses on the championship front runners. Quite often it's somebody else that steals the headlines and gets a great result. We had Hockenheim in that classic 2021 season finale at the Norrisring, became the first ever Indian driver to get on the DTM podium. We had Luca Engster getting a win here last year. So all of the focus, of course, is on the championship contenders, but there are 9 drivers fighting for that championship. There are 15 drivers just trying to win a race here this weekend. They don't care about the championship. So let's see what they can do as Guan goes to the top of the times now in the Porsche, 137.015. That's a huge advantage of 0.3 of a second. So Porsche are ahead of both of the McLarens now. And the Aston Martin of Gilles Magnus, 4th quickest. Really good effort from Gilles with the 137.4. Tommy Priding's not yet done though. What can he do? Comes out of the last corner, goes for the line, and the 2023 champion goes through, goes 2nd quickest. So suddenly it's a Manthey 1-2. So you've got Ben Doe who's trying to win the rookie championship, who's going up against, guess what, a Manthey driver for that title in the shape of the young Dutchman Maurice Schuring. And he's had 4 rookie wins this year, but he hasn't had a rookie win since the first race at the Nürburgring. So this is back on form for Ben Doe. Guan and Priding, though, are the fastest 2. Glock and Doe are 3rd and 4th. Magnus 5th, Bortolotti 6th. And others keep putting in green sector times. They're all improving now at the end of the session.
It does feel like a qualifying session. We said this might be a qualifying simulation. Gilles Magnus keeps going purple for a moment, so certainly in sector 2, that's an important one to be purple in. So Gilles Magnus, quickest of anybody in sector 2 on his previous lap, so in that 5th place at the moment. But everybody is out on track now, with the exception of Luke Sauer. Now Mirko Bortolotti is peeled off into the pits. But what a time from Ayanchen Guan. I think in quali tomorrow, if it stays dry, we're going to be into the 36s.
On board with Maro Engel now, championship contender for the 2nd year running. What can the 40-year-old do in that number 24 Winward Mercedes? Here he comes on the throttle, pushing on, coming out of the last couple of turns now, through turn 17, all over the curbs he goes. Goes for the line. It's going to be an improvement. It's up to 8th place, just over half a second adrift as he went through. So he goes through. Tom Callender just behind him on the road as well. He's fallen down the order somewhat now, down to 21st place. On board with Thomas Priding. Started the lap well. Not quite as good as his best, but in 2nd place he remains with another 1 minute 37, a low 1 minute 37, 2:31. That was only 200ths of a second away from his absolute best. Maurice Schuring is shot up to 7th. Maro Engel 8th. They're the 2 big improvers on that lap with just over 2 minutes to go in the session.
So Manthey EMA 1 and 2, the Durr Motorsport McLaren 3 and 4. So those look to be the cars to beat on the Friday. Of course, it could all change by the time we get to quali tomorrow. But Ayanchen Guan, Thomas Priding looking absolutely dialed in. 2 minutes remaining of the session. Nicky Thiem, a personal best in sector 1, but not in sector 2. He goes wide. You can see the back end struggling to grip out of the final corner. So out across the line will come Nicky Thiem in the number 2 car. He was in 18th place. He remains in 18th place at 138.097.
Fantastic. So Manthey are going for the team's championship. They lead the team's championship. They've got their drivers looking good, all 3 of them at the moment. And Guan is quickest, Priding is 2nd. Priding having topped the times in the first free practice session. And Ayanchen Guan absolutely is a real threat for this championship title this weekend. He's been driving brilliantly throughout the course of the 2025 season. Finally, some of the bad luck that's dogged him for the first few seasons of his DTM career has gone away. So he's off to a great start as well. Manthey know how to win a title or 2. Nürburgring 24 hours. They've got equalled the record with 7 victories at the Nürburgring 24 hours. They've got a driver's title, of course, with Thomas Priding, and a team title in 2023. But it's last year's team's champions, Schubert, that are our closest rivals for that team title this year, who run the 2 BMWs of 2 champions, 2 former champions, René Rast and Marco Wittmann. Here's Gilles Magnus in the Aston. Personal best through the first sector. Only a couple of tenths down through the middle sector. The Aston Martin takes a bit of wrestling through that final sector. It's another decent lap. 5th place, doesn't improve his time, but a 137.7 is not a bad lap at all.
So Jack Aitken has hauled it from the bottom up to P9 at 1:37.578. So he's made some good progress there. I was just looking at the timing screen, and I think that a lot of these drivers, a lot of these teams are going to need to pull it together in terms of track limits. We're getting 3 or 4 track limit warnings a minute at the moment, even this late on in free practice. And this, I've said it before, I'll say it again, this could be really significant when we get to quali tomorrow.
Yeah, because what happens in a qualifying session as the flag comes out, it's 20 minutes. What do they all do? Do a lap, come in, wait for the heat soak, wait for the tyres to get up to temperature, all go out for the last 6 or 7 minutes. So realistically, only have maybe 3 laps at it. And if you lose 1 or 2 of those laps to track limits, that could be curtains, couldn't it, in terms of your chances to be right up there. 5 of the last 8 race winners at Hockenheim, and this surprised me, this statistic, because you can overtake here, you can definitely overtake at Hockenheim. 5 of the last 8 winners have come from pole position, so it says that qualifying session tomorrow is going to be really important, and not least because there are championship points available for it as well.
Yes, 3 points for pole position, 2 for second, 1 for third, and so that is potential 6 points that can be earned just through the 2 qualifying sessions this weekend. And with a championship this close, with 9 drivers in the hunt, those points could be, almost certainly will be critical in terms of winning a championship. And I think the person who is going to be the 2025 champion will be the driver who has, as near as possible, a perfect weekend. I think DNF's issues with tracks, with track limits and laps getting removed, that's what's going to cost a championship, is having a consistent 2 qualifying and 2 races, and that's what's going to win a championship this year.
No mistakes from drivers, no mistakes from pit crews either. Don't forget, it's a team sport. They've got to play their part with these 3 pit stops across the course of the 2 races as well. They've got to get the strategy spot on, and they might have to deal with some inclement weather at some stages as well. I'm not even going to look at the forecast properly until we get to tonight, I don't think. But that is the final Friday of the season done, and it's Arjen Nguyen who tops the times with a 1:37.015, fastest lap of the day. That a 1:37.2 for Thomas Preining, first in session 1, second in session 2. Both of them still championship contenders. Timo Glock and Ben Durr, an excellent effort for the Durr Motorsport team. McLaren's 3rd and 4th in that session. And what about Gilles Magnus, a rising star? He's up to 5th place at the end of that session, despite the fact that he had that off at the Sachs Curva. So they're confirmation of the top 5. Mirko Bortolotti, more promise, but can the promise deliver some good results? Can they get their first podium with Mirko this season? 5th in free practice 1, 6th in free practice 2. Maurice Skuringer, another strong session in the orange Manthey Junior car for Porsche. He was 7th. Ben Green and Jack Aitken in the Ferraris just behind in 8th and 9th. Maro Engel in 10th. Arjen Meiney, much better session for Arjen, ended up just outside the top 10 luck in 11th place with late improvements. Ricardo Fella 12th. Marco Wittmann, who had that off through the final corner, 13th. Luca Engster 14th. Jordan Pepper only 15th. Bit of a worry for Jordan, that. And of course he lost most of that first free practice session. And Lucas Auer, though, the one driver that's ahead of him in the championship, not that great either in free practice 2. He's just behind him in 16th. René Rast back in 17th. Hasn't had the best of days either. Super slow-mos then of the top 3. Timo Glock couldn't care less about championship points. He just wants to get a good result. And he's had another good Friday. Keeps having good Fridays in the second half of the season. Can his fortunes change in Saturday or Sunday's races? He was 3rd quickest, Tommy Preining 2nd, but it's Arjen Nguyen that tops the times, and a bit like he's done all season long, going under the radar. Jan, do not rule him out of the championship fight. So this is on board with the Turkish driver for the fastest lap of the session, which was just over a 1:37 into the Nord Curve at turn 1, 180 kilometres an hour through there. Rattle the curbs, don't go over the track limits. Short link straight up to 240 kilometres an hour. 5th gear, then down to 2nd gear, down to 80 kilometres an hour, right through turn 3, left through turn 4, and now you unleash the horsepower, 550 brake horsepower or so, through the parabolica, up through the gears, 265 kilometres an hour, engine screaming, driver hanging on for dear life. Now stand on the brakes, because it's down to just 55 kilometres an hour. second gear through the Spitzkehrer. They'll overtake into that corner. They'll lose positions on the way out of it if they outbrake themselves. Again, up to over 200 kilometers an hour. Fourth gear, hang on to it. It's a really quick corner that through turn 7. Then into the left, down a second again at turn 8. And already you start to build up the speed, 150 kilometers an hour or thereabouts through the right and onto the short back straight. The end of sector 2, the Porsche absolutely on rails here into the Mobil 1 curve at 165 kilometers an hour. Don't go into the gravel trap, drag it back across to the right to get the better line into the Spitzkehrer. Don't overcook it under braking or you'll be in the gravel trap. Through the left-hander he goes, and then through this nice flowing sequence at turns 14, 15, into the double right then at 16, and a short link straight into 17, and now you're standing on the throttle, you're heading for the line, you're going up through the gears, and that is what it looked like to set the fastest lap of the day here in the final free practice session of what has been a fantastic 2025 season. He actually went off the road at the start of the next lap, but he got the job done, and that was it. So confirmation of the championship standings. These 9 drivers, 29 points between them, 56 points still available, 25 for each race win, 3 points if you get pole position. It's going down to the wire. How many will we have left in the championship fight at the end of day 1 of racing on Saturday, and who will be at the top of the times? Lucas Auer, Jordan Pepper, Rene Rast and company will thrill us and will entertain us, no doubt about it, when we get to race day tomorrow. Thanks for your company from Brian Oliver and me, Chris Hartley. Goodbye for now.